This is the 7th video in a series showing the gameplay from the Modern Challenge that took place on the 29th of September, in which I finished top 4 playing my build of full-color Keruga Omnath, which you see in front of you here. This video will cover the gameplay and include my play-by-play commentary for the games in round 7 of the Modern Challenge, so the last round of Swiss. If you missed the previous rounds and want to check that out, the playlist for the entire challenge is included in the video description. Also included are links to the text deck list and links to the free sideboard guide for this deck, so please check that out. With all that said, let's get to the games. Game 1, I'm on the draw. Sounds pretty mid. The most important thing I have is just a way to potentially kill a turn 1 Ragavan. Obviously, my opponent's playing polluted Delta, so I'm not sure if they actually have a turn 1 Ragavan in the deck. Possible at all, but that was my consideration. And then Endurance can potentially either act as a blocker for a more aggro deck or an out to something more unfair, something like Living End, which this could be actually. This one, Polluted Delta could have Living End on Polluted Delta. But yeah, I mainly kept this hand because of the 4 lands. So 4 lands with 2 fetch lands, so I could at least surveil my way into more action. But then I'd still have my man under me, so this hand is actually not that bad. It's on the middle range of keeps you can do with this deck. Not amazing, but not bad. Opponent is fetching Watery Grave for the Delta, so this is Blueback Frog. And this fine versus Blueback Frog, we use the Arid Mesa first, because the mountain's already in our hand. So Arid Mesa does not fetch a basic except Plains now. Windswept Heath could do for us, depending on what is going to go on in this next turn. Okay, opponent doesn't present another line drop. So now I want to get Lush Portico, because now the threat of Harbinger of the Seas is not immediate. And I play the Endurance now, so I can avoid any issues with the Murktide that could come down. That's actually a lot of instant sorceries I have already in the graveyard at that time. Yeah, this gets hits with a Fatal Push. It's Endurance, but that's okay. Kind of done its job already. And opponent flashes an step Bowmaster and I Tisha's Tidebinder just to guarantee I get some bios. Tisha's Tidebinder. This also means that, so if we saw round 2 earlier in the Swiss, that I don't get tempoed out by the 2 damage a turn clock, which we've seen is important. And I continue to play instant speed. So I'm not committing any of these Omnaths yet unless I have to. So I run out of instant speed things to play. Still have the Solitude actually. So yeah, that's gonna be my next play. Nothing changes, so I'm just gonna try and flash in the Solitude to kill those Orcish Bowmasters. And point of this is, if my opponent doesn't tap out for anything, then I get to keep the Solitude. If they do like this, then at least I'm flushing out counter spells. And the way blue-black works is it's like half counters, and not half counters literally, but like your hand is a mixture of counters and threats, not just pure counters, not like Jeskai. So with blue black, they can literally run out of counters for a longer period of time than Jeskai would, like Jeskai control. So I see like their hand is just they're just putting out frogs now at this point, and look at how this Omnath didn't get countered. They ran out of counter spells for just a bit. I think there's a fatal push there, and yeah, there's other stuff like this as well. It's not all counter magic. There's fatal pushes, the spell snare. Spell snares are mostly dead against us. Um, so here's the first real decision of the game with the leyline binding. I decided to take out the psychic frog because while the Murktide is a fast clock, I still have the fire ice to delay it by tapping it on a key turn if I need to. And also, I'm more likely to lose to the card advantage here. I'm not more likely to lose to just a beat stick. That's just general rule, actually. I mean, obviously, if the Murktide is lethal on the next turn, yeah, you take out the Murktide in this kind of situation. But usually, you aim for Psychic Frogs because Psychic Frogs can really carry away with the game if you don't check them early with removal or something like that. And yeah, pretty much that's why I make this play. And I do get to draw a card with Keruga, and we got Solitude, which is nice. Yeah, my opponent correctly recognizes the threat of this Keruga, repeatedly being able to attack for 5. So they have to not attack with their Murktide. Wings really consolidating our position. Feel pretty safe to draw here because I have the Solitude, and they didn't have a counter last turn. Now they do, but Bowmasters isn't that big a deal since I have the Solitude in hand. I just kill the Murktide now anyway, because if they didn't present a counter last turn, that means that must be an unsuitable counter in hand, and they only drew the counter spell this turn. So they cling to dust to see what they draw, and yeah, scoop. So mostly a simple game. I'd say the leyline buying decision was probably the hardest one, probably the most counterintuitive. You'd think you'd take out the bigger creature, but really it's card advantage that usually beats you. And if you can take card advantage away from blue black, you're pretty much guaranteed to win most of the time. And you're pretty much almost always able to do that because just the way your deck works, the 4-color Omnath deck works, especially now with Flage, another angle of card advantage. You can really outgrind their counter spells and their interaction. And just prioritize that. As you make sure they can't do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. On to game 2. Round 7, game 2. And I'm on the draw again because I won the last game. This is a decent keep. I have endurance for beats in the future as part of my flash plays to try and bait counter spells and tap out. Mystical Dispute for a turn 2 Psychic Frog if they have it. This gets hit with the Thoughtseize. I leave the fetch uncracked now because of the Thoughtseize because I was banking on that Mystical Dispute to counter Harbinger of the Seas as well, potentially, but now I might need to fetch a Plains with this Blood Strand just to be safe. So I'm holding it. Now I don't see Harbinger of the Seas. I'm going to try and get lucky with the Lush Portico, see if I can find something. No, I don't. Instead, I'm just going to set up this Endurance play. And here's an interesting decision I make. So they've seen this Endurance with the Thoughtseize. But I also drew it to Fairy, and I still have this Fable in hand. I'd like to resolve them if possible. So I don't flash in the endurance upkeep because if I can incentivize them to tap their mana out, even if it is for something like a Murktide, I think that's a good deal. They have a fetch, they have to fetch, and they can leave a counterspell mana. But in this case, they can't if they do play a Murktide. So that taps them out. I just let them do that. And yeah, taking lines, in general, taking lines that allow you to prioritize resolving stuff like Teferi or Fable or anything else, even like a Solitude. Essentially, just try and get them to tap out. Incentivize them to do that. Yeah, just beat down with the Endurance. Straightforward. Played the Island last turn just to save a bit of life. Okay, now I can afford a shock because Solitude's gonna do work of getting rid of Bowmasters here. Didn't realize there'd be a fail push on the Endurance, but I take this opportunity to flash in the Solitude under the counterspell. Yeah, Solitude doesn't last. And here you could have chosen, I could have chosen to play like Fable or tap out. I think that's incorrect. It's like I said, you just want them to try and tap out on their turn. So as long as you have flash threats like Solitude or even Cosmic Reverse, you just continue to play those plays. Because I'm not really interested in just tapping for some mana, they counter, then they untap, and they just get to play a threat plus hold up the counter. I just prefer to strand that mana as much as possible. So yeah, I'm flashing in the Solitude for sure. And if it resolves and sticks, I get to at least continue attacking my opponent's life total down. Attacking their life total down, even just with these random creatures, is actually pretty good. As we saw in game one, just attacking with Keruga could have gotten us there. And yeah, Teferi here is really nice having resolved off the Cosmic Rebirth. Because now instant speed, Supreme Verdict is option, is indeed what I do. Got Bowmasters. Okay, so the next turn I'm very much interested in just killing the Bowmasters so I don't have to deal with a bigger Orc Army token. Should anything get removed from my side of the board that could block this token. And yeah, Teferi invalidates counterspells. There's an Orc Army, but it's not making that big of a dent. And yeah, after this they scoop, they realize they're too far behind. I stop all the counter spells, I have an Omnath, so I can just keep getting life. I have a bigger blocker. So yeah, that's a nice end to Swiss, 2-0 against Blue Like Frog. The main points from this matchup were, yeah, just try and play at instant speed. Even flashing in Solitude with no targets. Just to try and get a clock going, trying to attack the life points down to the point where they have to be a bit more reactive is okay. Don't try and just tap out into everything if you can help it, because yeah, making blue black use their mana on their turn cycle is pretty effective at making sure that a bunch of other key spells that you have resolve instead. And that's what cards like Endurance, on top of stuff like Solitude, really help you do.